Welcome to Back to Baking Basics 101, Chocolate Chip Cookies. In this module, we will look at the challenge of how to teach adults who possess different learning styles. David Kolb's Learning Style Inventory shows us the process of learning as a cycle through which we experience, reflect, think, and act. The learning cycle demonstrates that there are two ways that we can grasp or take in experience, either by concrete experience or abstract conceptualization. There are two ways that we can deal with the experience, by either reflective observation or active experimentation. The learning process may begin at any of these four phases of the learning cycle. In this module, we will demonstrate, by using the simple task of making cookies, how adults can learn in each one of these phases. The four parts to Kolb's learning cycle include abstract conceptualization, concrete experience, active experimentation, and reflective observation. In more general terms, thinking, experiencing, acting, and reflecting. These four types of learning phases show how we can grasp, take in, or deal with our learning experiences. We each think, experience, act, and reflect on our learning experiences differently. Although we may move back and forth between the phases, we all have preferred learning styles. How important is this for instructors to consider when designing a learning module? There are several factors that help shape our approaches to learning. They include our culture, personality type, life experiences, education, career, and genetics. The following slides will show how we broke down the process of making chocolate chip cookies into demonstrating the four learning parts to Kolb's learning cycle. What phase of Kolb's learning cycle is Tammy demonstrating in the following video?
Okay, today we're going to make some chocolate chip cookies. Now, before we begin, first thing we need is a recipe. There's lots of places that you can get recipes from. The internet, magazines have plenty of variations on recipes, or your traditional cookbook. Now for today's recipe, I'm going to use the recipe on the back of the bag of chocolate chips. I don't know why, I just find that I have good success using those. I really enjoy that. So I'm going to make the Ghirardelli chocolate chip cookies. Now before you get started, you've got to have all your ingredients. So of course you go through the list on the back, and you've got your flour, your eggs, sugar, brown sugar, vanilla. I recommend pure vanilla, but you can use imitation if that's what you've got on hand. Measuring cups and spoons, and of course, butter. Now, I enjoy using butter in my recipes for the flavor, but sometimes you might want to have a more chewy cookie, and in that case, you might want to consider using half shortening and half butter. It really just depends what you're going for in your cookies, so really think about that in advance before you bake your recipe. Also, think about the level of ingredients that you want to include. Now, if you're baking for kids, you probably don't need to use the most high-end ingredients. Certainly you want them to be healthy, but they may not enjoy bittersweet chocolate chips from Ghirardelli as much as your adult friends might enjoy them. I'm making these for adults, so this is what I'm using today. Also, I'm going to add pecans into my mix. Now, if I had friends who did not like nuts, I would not include these. All things to consider when you're about to make chocolate chip cookies.
If you guessed abstract conceptualization, you were correct. In this video, Tammy demonstrated her teaching method for the learner who logically compares between two options. She clearly explained why she preferred all the different products for her recipe, and she demonstrated the knowledge of how to plan and prepare from a recipe. What phase of the learning cycle is this next video?
Alright, so first thing we need to do is put in 1 cup of butter. And this is 2 cubes of butter. Then we need to put in 3/4 cup of brown sugar. Push it, hard so it's pushed down. And then a 3/4 cup of sugar. So let's pour it over the bowl. So you're going to kind of just use the knife and lay it on and push it across. Good. And you're going to put that in. And then 2 eggs, which are already open. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Great. Now you're going to turn the mixer on. 1 or 2. Okay, then you're going to take and scrape the sides of the bowl. Let that mix in real good. Okay, and now we're going to do, in this bowl, we're going to add separately 1 teaspoon of salt. Good. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Yep, level it off. And put it in. Then mix it together with a spoon. Good job, Jessie. You're doing great. Now you're going to just pour this mixture in here with the rest of the liquid mixture. Okay, and then you're going to put the lid back on, and we're going to turn it on again to 1 or 2. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of water. And about 11 ounces of chocolate chips. You can pour the whole thing in. And you're just going to mix that just for a little bit until it's all mixed. Okay, and we'll scrape the sides of the bowl. Great. And that's it. So you'll put it on the cookie sheet about that big, and then you'll bake it at 375 for 8 to 10 minutes. Or until it looks and tastes how you like it. Thank you, Jess. Good job.
Concrete experience is the right answer. Joan demonstrated with her learner how to make cookies step by step by allowing the learner to experience and participate in the learning process. Praise and encouragement enhance positive feelings related to this experience. She involved and respected the learner as she constructed the experience around the interests of the learner. Both the learner and the facilitator were aware and presently engaged in the learning process. This next video demonstrates to the learner the importance on taking risks and showing the ability to get things done. Perhaps by adjusting the temperature of the oven or the amount of time that the cookies are in the oven, this learning phase perseveres and gets the job done. These risk takers are using the learning phase of active experimentation. Now let's look at the last phase of Kolb's learning cycle.
C is for cookie, that's good enough for me. C is for cookie.
During the reflective observation phase of learning, one observes the outcome before one makes a judgment on how things went. They look for meanings, take a new perspective, and take time to wonder how things could be better. Reflective observation gives one the opportunity to consider what things went well during the process or what things didn't go so well.
Wipe the drool from your chin, dust the crumbs off your shirt, and let's chat for a second. What did we just experience? Throughout this course, we wanted to drive home 3 key themes. First, learning is a process. As highlighted at the beginning of this course, the Kolb learning cycle has 4 components: abstract conceptualization, concrete experience, active experimentation, reflective observation. Each indicates a part in the learning process. We think, we experience, we act, and we reflect, typically in that order. Secondly, learning is layered. While there may be a process of learning, it's through our unique experiences that we have come to favor certain parts of the process over others. And thirdly, learning can be fun, even when it's done online. By now, we hope you have learned how to identify the 4 components of the Kolb learning style, to present information in ways that includes various styles of learning, and develop your own process of facilitating learning that's inclusive of multiple learning styles. And before we go, we want to leave you with a few things to remember. Consider this step our rabies approach. Let's start with the first one. Research. Get to know the needs of the learning audience beforehand. This will help the facilitator provide relevant, relatable content in a way that connects with the audience. Number 2, ask. Ask questions and check for clarity throughout the presentation. Take notice of body language, engagement levels, and understanding. This will help the facilitator adapt as needed when giving a presentation live. If the presentation or course is pre-recorded or self-led, be sure to add stopping cues that allow the learning audience to reflect on their learning experience throughout the course. Be inclusive. Include opportunities for learners of all styles. This allows learners of all styles to experience learning in ways that are both comfortable for them and ways that are more unique to others. Explore. Explore more than one learning method. This is different from being inclusive, as it requires the facilitator to present to the learning community in ways that may not be their preferred method. Number 5, engage. Engage the learning communities with opportunities for both the introvert and the extrovert, both for things that are reflective and things that are interactive. And finally, sum it up. Give some key pointers and takeaways for the audience to take home and chew on. Remember, the adult learner is usually self-directed. They choose what topics they want to learn, or they self-initiate their interest, and they are life-centered in their orientation of learning. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, and now we'll open it up to questions.